artery by a sniper's bullet. Unfortunately, the Major General died 3 days later. Having arrived on Gallipoli on April 25th, 1915, and remaining there for most of the time until he was wounded himself, Harold had the full gamut of experience of a difficult situation. Sleeping arrangements were basic, to say the least. He had a dugout which he fashioned with leaves on the floor, a wooden hook for his mug, and 3 overcoats to keep him warm. I hate to think who had the extra 2 coats previously. The uncomfortable sleeping arrangements was probably not so difficult for him, coming from a poor family with 10 children and sharing a bed with his 3 brothers. Harold had to begin work at the age of 13 to supplement the family's income, and this continued while he was an enlisted soldier, with his pay, which I believe was 6 shillings a week, being sent to his mother Jane, who is my great-grandmother. As time went on, many years after the war, Uncle Harold began telling stories of his time in Gallipoli. But rarely did he speak of his time at the Somme. It must have been too horrendous, though he did mention the mud. One of the stories Harold told his daughter Julie was that his mother used to send him mail, which included the newspaper, The Hebrew Standard. General Monash sought him out one day, having found which soldier was the lucky recipient of news of the goings-on in the Jewish community in Sydney. Monash then asked Harold if he'd join him for a run. Harold was keen on that idea, and having run a fair distance together, Harold inquired where the run was. Monash replied, "What run?" I said, "A run." Harold believed that all soldiers, no matter what side of the conflict they were on, were simply doing their job. He didn't speak badly of the enemy, and recalled a day when both sides had a battle-free day to retrieve and bury their dead. The soldiers from both sides interacted, then went back to their respective posts and continued their jobs. Part of the task included taking prisoners. Harold said that he recalled up to 200 or so prisoners taken and said they were treated well. War is never easy, and seeing your mates dying or injured is the most difficult experience. Retrieving wounded from a war zone, carrying them to a safe haven or onto a waiting hospital ship, getting wet up to the waist and being under a lot of pressure was the life Harold Collins and his fellow soldiers experienced. Having finally been evacuated from Gallipoli, he then served in Egypt, where by accident he met up with his father, Private Solomon George Collins, who was also an enlisted soldier who was in the 19th Battalion, 5th Division. The next task Harold took on was to join the Flying Corps, the AIF. He trained in England and was attached to the Royal Flying Corps, serving in France and Britain, achieving the rank of Warrant Officer Class 2. He recalled that if you could fly higher than the enemy, you definitely had the advantage. Amongst the famous people he was proud to say he had met were the likes of Edward VIII, Field Marshal Birdwood, Charles Kingsford Smith, and Simpson and his donkey. Unlike many who returned with shell shock, Harold did not display these signs, staying in the armed forces for some time after the war ended to tie up loose ends. Returning to Australia on October 30th, 1919, having received a meritorious service medal. Being a fit man, he won a gold medal for boxing during the war, and this penchant for fitness carried on well after the war, when once he cycled in a race from Sydney to Melbourne. Harold was a lover of both his Jewish heritage and of animals, as well as opera and football. What a combination. On his return to Australia, he became a founding member of the Jewish Returned Servicemen's Association, and he always attended Anzac Day marches. In his youth, not everything went his way or as planned. His planned Bar Mitzvah day had to be moved to another day. Having learned the portion for his birthday parsha, he found that another boy had done the same. They flipped to see who would change the day. Harold lost and had to learn a new parsha. As was his demeanour, he took it in his stride, did well on the day, and for many years continued to be an active member of the Jewish community in Sydney on his return from the war. Harold's jobs were varied, from house painting to insurance salesman, his happy nature endearing him to his many clients. My mother always recalled her Uncle Harold and Auntie Etty with fond memories. Harold met his wife-to-be, Etty, at a wedding, thought she was rather nice, asked her to a concert, and having received the okay from Etty's father, she accepted the invitation, and finally they married in 1923. Sadly, Etty passed away in 1970. Harold continued with his love of animals, becoming a volunteer for the RSPCA with his new partner, Phyllis Hadley. And even at the age of 90, he was still collecting money by walking Sydney streets selling badges for the organisation. Phyllis Hadley remained with him until his death, a few months short of his 100th birthday. Harold Collins' granddaughter, Sophie Edie, now proudly has her grandfather's dog tag. On one side, it states H.B. Collins, 619 June. And on the reverse side, it has his mother's name and address. We were all so happy it came home safely with Uncle Harold and with his haunting photos and diary depicting everyday life of our brave soldiers just doing their jobs. Thank you, and please enjoy the exhibition of my great Uncle Harold's collection, which I now declare to be open.